Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Career Discovery presentation on exploring registered apprenticeship programs in the Rural Electric Cooperatives and Aircraft Mechanics programs. This week is Apprenticeship Week, so Bank of North Dakota is partnering with the Center for Technical Education to bring you presentations on apprenticeship programs available in North Dakota. I'm Amanda Wydula, University and Student Development Coordinator at Bank of North Dakota, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. During today's session, students will learn about registered apprenticeship programs and how they can learn in-demand skills across a variety of industries while earning a real-world wage. Just some housekeeping items today. In the menu of the webinar, there is both a chat and a Q&A function that we will encourage all of you to use for your questions or comments that you have about the webinar today. We will answer questions throughout the webinar, so please put them in the Q&A when you have them. We have 4 speakers today. Our first is Jason Ellert, and he is from North Dakota's Building Trade Unions, and he will be running the panel today. And Jason is the current president of North Dakota Building Trades. Next, we have Christina Remick from the North Dakota Association and Rural Electric Cooperatives. Then we have John Simmers from the Bismarck Aero Center. And finally, our apprenticeship from the Central Power Electric Cooperative is Stephen Volipsky. All right, Jason, you can take it away.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. And yes, it is National Apprenticeship Week and actually National Apprenticeship Month. So with us in the Building Trade Unions, with the Career and Technical Education of North Dakota, with the Bank of North Dakota, we wanted to bring some more information to all of you during the time of COVID, because career fairs are just not happening. But get that information out there that's available in the state of North Dakota with registered apprenticeship programs that are right here in North Dakota. That if you're looking as a career pathway after high school, they exist right here, and we could get you more information about them. Amanda did a great job about introducing our panelists here today, but maybe I'll just go through them briefly and just give an introduction if they would like to say a couple words. We'll start out with Christy Remick with the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives.
Good afternoon. I'm Christy, and I've been with the electric cooperatives for 10 years now. I'm the director of apprenticeship training and safety for electric cooperatives across the state. We also provide apprenticeship programming for city municipals, the Minot Air Force Base, and some contractors across the state of North Dakota.
Excellent. And then our other panelist is John Simmers with the Bismarck Aero Center.
Thank you, Jason. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the second generation in the business here and third generation pilot, so very family-oriented organization. We're the region's largest aircraft maintenance service facility, also providing specialized avionics, navigation and communication equipment services to aircraft owners. And glad to be here today.
Excellent. And then finally, what I think we have really special adding here to this discussion, to this roundtable, is an actual apprentice. There's always talk about an apprenticeship programs and how important they are, but having Stephen here today is really beneficial. So Stephen, if you could give a little introduction with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stephen Volipsky. I've been at Central Power for 5 months. I'm an apprentice lineman. Personally, I'm a transmission lineman. So we do a lot of the bigger structures and the higher voltages. I've been an apprentice now for 2.5 years, and I just rolled over into the Rural Electric Cooperative. With that, it's a little bit more scheduled and orientated. Yeah, I work on power lines and everything that goes along with the trade.
Excellent. Thank you for being here with us today as well.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes. So getting us started off, we're going to give a little bit of opportunity to background, and through the presentation, I've got hopefully everybody can see the PowerPoint. But we're going to kind of go through each one of us with John and Christy, talking a little bit about your guys' registered apprenticeship program, its components, anything that's how many apprentices you enroll, length of the program. Kind of give us a general overview. When we start talking about registered apprenticeship programs, I think sometimes that gets lost with a lot of educators, a lot of students, a lot of parents. Exactly what does that mean? What does that entail? Why don't you guys give us a little insight with that? And we'll start with Christy. Could you give us a little insight about your program?
So we have had apprenticeship programs since the early 1960s. We offer apprenticeship for journeyman electrician or lineman, and then we also offer them for meter technician. The statewide association has about 18 entities who are enrolled into this apprenticeship program. And again, it covers our electric cooperatives, it covers some of our contractors, city municipals, and Air Force Base. Each program, whether it's the line worker or the meter technician, are slightly different, not a ton. Both of them require 8,000 hours of on-the-job learning. And then the line worker program is 4 years of correspondence, and that's 144 hours a year. The meter technician's a little bit shorter. It's 3 years of correspondence at, again, 144 hours a year. But other than that, they're fairly similar. So you have 3 parties who are involved in this. You've got the apprentice, you've got the sponsor, and then you've got the administrator, which I serve that role.
Excellent. Oh, go ahead.
Nope, that's it.
Okay. And then we'll transition into John with your guys' at the apprenticeship program at the Bismarck Aero Center. Give us a little more insight about that one.
Yeah, you bet. Currently today we have 2 folks enrolled in our apprentice program. Out of just a maintenance department of about 15 folks, that makes up a good portion of our workforce. And so our apprentice program really stemmed from that need, during the shortage here of skilled workforce in our area. We kind of developed this program with the Department of Labor. And the program really mirrors the Federal Aviation Administration standards for becoming an aircraft maintenance technician. And I'm sure we'll get into more details later, but our program is a 36-month program where you can come into the program without any previous aircraft experience, any previous formal training, starting from scratch. You could come in the door and in 3 years' time have your license to be an aircraft mechanic and work locally or anywhere in the world with that federal certification.
Excellent. And then like Christy spoke about, she broke it up with the 144 hours of classroom instruction.
Yeah.
Do you have that similar component to the classroom instruction with the on-the-job training? Is that broken up like an hourly program, or?
It's not broken up. The standards require certain proficiencies. And so basically as a apprentice technician, you work with a coach, a mentor, and you journal every week your activities. And that's your way of documenting the type of activities you've been doing, whether it's on the job training, whether, we do have some classroom opportunities, but it's not broken into requirements of set hours of OJT and set hours of classroom. And we do meet periodically with an FAA inspector just to kind of verify and track progress towards the 36-month goal.
Excellent, excellent. And I think that's what really sets apart a registered apprenticeship program. And Christy spoke about it as well. And eventually we'll get to Stephen and probably getting his input on there. But that's one of the real benefits of a registered apprenticeship program. We talk about learn by doing. There will be some classroom instruction involved, a lot of stuff that's going to be involved here. But there is a major component of what you learn in the classroom. The very next day you can be utilizing it right on the job site. Myself, I went through a bricklayer's apprenticeship program, and I was a former teacher, but one of those things that I can really attest to is that when you hear that comment from students, and probably for a lot of the educators that are on the line, the counselors, you'll hear that of, when am I ever going to use this? Well, in an apprenticeship program, you could use it the very next day. The others, is there like levels of achievement within your guys' apprenticeship program, Christy? Tiered like a set of stairs?
Correct. We do have steps. We have a 9-step program out of that 8,000 hours, which is approximately 4 years. But they learn at their own pace. That's the beauty of it. So they need to be very active, but they're learning at their own pace, and they're progressing based on the book work that they're accomplishing and the skills that they're demonstrating in the field. So some can cruise through their steps a little quicker than others, but we still have that availability to coach, to mentor, to train at the individual learner's pace. And that's a beauty of this kind of program.
So there isn't really like a race to make sure that I get something done. I can be, okay, if I didn't quite get that, it doesn't seem like you're failing, or you're going to continue to keep work with that student, with that apprentice, to make sure that they're successful.
This is correct. Obviously,
Okay.
as in real life, there's always, merits to achievement. So as you're progressing upon your steps, you're going to have incremental pay increases. So there is incentive to work very hard to demonstrate your skill and to complete your book work on time.
And is that something similar within your program, John, that incremental increases, or at least steps of education?
Yeah, and I would say ours probably isn't quite as formalized. The program's really designed to that 3-year end goal of getting your license, and then there's more formal advancements after that. So the first 3 years, it's really an evaluation that's with the incentives of hard work, growing your skill base, growing your levels of responsibility, and the incremental, increases. If we're talking about just compensation, come with those things, right? So with advanced skill, with advanced responsibility, with advanced knowledge, the pay continues to shadow that.
And that's, I think, the real benefit of an apprenticeship program. The more you learn, the expectation increases, but also your financial financial reward, your greater increase in salary. That's what I went through with my apprenticeship program. Yeah, my first year as an apprentice, there was more basic skills, laying brick to the line. But then as I got into my 3rd and 4th year, the expectation was to be able to do things that a journeyman was able to do. So, with that, since it is National Apprenticeship Week, one of the 2 things that I've always wanted to explore with the companies or the industries is, why exactly do you prefer to use a registered apprenticeship program? Why do you like using this model? What benefits do you get out of it? Why not just go to the colleges and get someone right out of college, and not trying to trash colleges or anything like that? We'll start with you, John. Why did Bismarck Aero Center start this registered apprenticeship program? Because I think yours is still fairly new, right?
Yeah, ours just a couple years old, but to your point, it's an alternate method of getting to the end goal without sitting in a classroom, and you put your skills to use on day one. For us, the appeal, there are not local schools for what we do. The closest school is a 5-hour drive from here. And so for us, it was, how do you incentivize and add excitement to somebody locally that wants to stay local and is just trying to figure out what's the next phase in life. And so if you can bring that person in and show them, here's a roadmap, here's a path to success, here's a path to a career without taking on the debt of sitting in a classroom, without being away from home, you're still in your environment, and it appeals to that group. Believe it or not, our program also has a pathway for somebody that's maybe partially through a career and maybe has other family or lifestyle commitments. And the apprentice program allows us to take somebody out of a different industry or a different background and bring them in at a career wage without having to start all over. And so ours is kind of twofold. And I just want to briefly mention that today, but I know our target group today is primarily high school and up, but I guess the key message to that entry-level group is, you don't have to sit in the classroom. Classroom's not for everyone, and here's an alternate path to get to a career. I can think of a lot of hours sitting in a classroom going, I'm never going to use this, and you got to wait a number of years to figure out if you will ever use it. And here you are on day one. You're advancing in your career.
Excellent. And how about for you, Christy? Why do you guys really enjoy utilizing the registered apprenticeship program?
Well, for us, the apprenticeship program over the last 50+ years, it is tried and true process for training a skilled workforce. No better way to get the right folks out on the job, not only learning and growing their career, but supporting the industry nearly from day one. I just can't speak enough about this education model. You're able to, like I said, boots on the ground day one, you're working, you're providing for yourself and your family, but you're also providing for your organization and the community that you live in. A lot of responsibility and growth occurs so quickly in an apprenticeship program. And I'm going to, leave a lot of this to be discussed by Stephen. He's going to have some great insight into his process as well. But typically for the positions of linemen and meter technicians, they do have a little bit of college to start with. Traditionally speaking, most cooperatives and contractors will hire a student from a line school who's completed about a 9-month period just to get those basic skills up and going, put on the boots and hooks, put on the belt, make sure climbing and heights and the heavy equipment, that is all something, that you're comfortable with as a student, and really getting you out there to get a test and a taste for that lifestyle before you jump all in. So typically we hire from someone who has completed a line worker training program, but that's not always the case. When we all know rural North Dakota, you've got some remote communities, and we know that the best people in those communities are sometimes homegrown. And with an apprenticeship program, we have that opportunity to take, let's say, a young person off the street, put them in a pair of boots and hooks, and give them a trial too. And then just roll them into the apprenticeship program. So it doesn't have to have a college certificate, but most commonly our folks hired have a college certificate.
Okay. Well, that'll actually lead really well into the next information point that we're talking about today. And where we talked about previously, and you touched upon it, Christy, but lifestyle and where do you recruit from? As students are watching this here today, they're probably looking, okay, maybe I've heard about this, maybe there's some information that I would want to get. As I progress through my high school career, is there certain courses, is there certain activities that you feel would prepare students for that? And then maybe even we could open the, Stephen too, if there was something that in your apprenticeship going on right now, were there courses that you took in high school that really kind of helped you into this, into your apprenticeship program?
Okay. Yeah, I'll start. I took, so for me, I would say the two main courses I would think to take in high school would be fundamental sciences, and with that it would be physics and chemistry. Basically, break it down simple would be the electrical theory, just understanding how electricity works and electrons and protons and neutrons and that kind of thing, stuff that you learn in just your basic chemistry class. Physics, you're dealing with a lot of the physics aspects of it, nothing too in depth, but just to have that basic understanding of how that kind of stuff works will make, if you do choose to go to line school, it'll make that a lot more simple, and you'll have a basic understanding just going into school. And I think that would set you above everybody else, just having that little bit of knowledge.
Excellent. Christy, how about for you? What, as in your experience, has there been courses that are helping apprentices to be more successful in their apprenticeship program?
Well, I think what Stephen had to offer was just spot on. I would add though math. I think mathematics, and the other portion of it is technology/communication. But math, because you're always completing some kind of calculation, and it ties into your basic electricity. But if we look at communication, no matter what career path any young person takes, that's just a fundamental to being successful in your chosen field. And then the technology, as we are here today doing a virtual meeting, that's always changing. So your ability to be flexible and to learn and to try some new things, I think that's just going to help you, again, in any career that you choose. But I would just add math, communication, and a little bit of technology as to that list as well.
Excellent. And how about for you, John?
Yeah, I would strongly concur with Christy and Stephen there. In the aerospace industry at all levels, you're as an aircraft mechanic, you're constantly working mathematical equations. You're constantly applying science and physics to, whether it's weight and balance of an aircraft or aerodynamics or engine parameters. Those things are key. And so I think, excuse me here.
Oh.
And so I think, beyond that, beyond the classroom setting, whether it's an opportunity to take some, VOTEC classes, or it's your hobbies outside. I know not everybody has access to go work on an aircraft. But what are you doing in your downtime as a student? Are you playing video games, or you have a job that's requiring you to use new skills and learn new skills? And so I often look beyond the classroom, and if you don't have an aircraft to work on and you don't have a car to work on, you can still grow mechanical skills by working on a bicycle or a motorcycle. You can still pick up some of those skills and exposure by working at a local mechanic shop, even if you're just starting with some of the basic, mechanics helper type things. Those things all lead to the end goal and help grow your skills. So,
kind of what we would talk about would be a tinkerer. Well, how does this work? How does this work? How does that figure this out? It's, just how do systems work? It'd probably be a real good individual. If you had that interest, that background, probably really good for your aircraft mechanics, huh?
Yeah, and I can tell you, for us, the person that's the tinkerer, and again, someone that's tinkering, gaining mechanical, very inquisitive mind, you're driven to use your hands and kind of learn things. The apprentice set that we've worked with that really came off the couch, and really their downtime was all about video games and those sorts of non-hands-on mechanical things, really struggled in the environment early on.
Okay. And then I'd also, even coming from through an apprenticeship program, math is central. It is key to the apprenticeship program. But one thing I always like to point out is that you're not going to be doing quadratic equations on a chalkboard, where you're not solving for X in an apprenticeship program. Probably one of the greatest stories I always like to talk about is the Pythagorean theorem, and it's how to find that hypotenuse of a square corner. When I became a bricklayer, then it actually, the light bulb dinged on for me. So for those students who may be going, well, I'm not good at math, clearly an apprenticeship program is not going to be my cup of tea. You have to think about it is what you're learning that day in classroom, you're going to use out on the job site the very next day. So you're going to use that quadratic equation or that physics that Stephen talked about. You're going to use it the very next day. So a lot of times when I was using it, then it stuck. It's not just trying to have you read a book and then take a test at the end of the semester. So with that, we've kind of been heavily dominant with us, but for Stephen, we have this real opportunity with an apprentice right here with us, joining us here today. Would like to get your input, Stephen. Tell us how your apprenticeship is going. How did you get involved with it, and what has been real benefit for you going through an apprenticeship program?
Basically, I guess the biggest benefit to an apprenticeship for me is I have 15 coworkers, and currently at Central Power, I'm the only apprentice. So as an apprentice, you really lean on your journeyman to teach you and help you. And like I said, I have about 15 journeymen that I all look at as a teacher. And not only are they teachers, they're also friends and coworkers, but I have 15 people that I can lean on to help me solve problems, teach me the ways, and make sure and ensure that I'm learning. And I think that's something that's really awesome. Whereas like a 4-year degree, you just have your professors, you go, you sit in their class, you learn. Whereas with an apprenticeship, I'm hands-on every single day. And the biggest thing that I really enjoy is that I can see the difference that I do every day. Whether we're, building power lines or building substations or just, just minor things, but at the end of the day, you can turn around and see that, okay, wow, we really did stuff today. And it's a good feeling, and it's very rewarding.
I know that feeling all too well. That at the end of the day, I would get a section of wall done, or it felt really good. And there were times that it was a challenging day, and you go, wow, hopefully I'll be better tomorrow. But you take it in stride. From a financial obligation, I mean, how are you paying for your apprenticeship, Stephen?
So with my apprenticeship, for a cooperative, they pay for your apprenticeship as long as you maintain the hours, you maintain the book work, and you keep up to standards. Also with that, I have a GI Bill, which is a kicker for it. It's a little bit more in depth. I won't get into it, but with the military and that, everything kind of plays into it. So you get different things from it. But with working for Central Power and the Rural Electric Cooperative, they pay for your apprenticeship as long as you keep up to their standards.
So you're not having to take out college loans. You're not looking for grants or scholarships or anything like that. You're
Nothing along those lines. I went to the Bismarck line work. It's right here where we are currently. I did 9 months of school. That was started in June. We did just a basic course, and then the college itself kicked off in August, and it was just like a normal year. I'd say you go to school from about 8 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. It's about your 8-hour day, and 4 hours of that were spent outside learning. It's all hands-on. We were building power lines, just learning different aspects, learning to climb, getting comfortable on our hooks, being comfortable in the air, using different tools, different heavy machinery. Just basically, the end goal is for us to be completely confident, I guess would be the right word for it, just understanding everything. And when you're going to line school, it's just you get a basic understanding. So when you do get your job and you go to your first day of school or first day of work, you don't feel lost. They start asking you questions, and you're like, okay, yeah, I know this and I know that, and then from there you can continue to grow with the apprenticeship.
So you really feel like you were set up for success.
I did, absolutely. I personally would recommend going to line school if that's something that you're interested in, is working on power lines. I would highly recommend going to school first.
And then, I mean, for John, and I don't know if we covered this, maybe we did a little bit, but for like the financial obligation for your guys' registered apprenticeship program, if a student were looking at that, what are they looking at from a financial obligation?
Yeah, the out-of-pocket costs for someone going through the apprentice program, typically the out-of-pocket costs are maybe some study materials, the testing costs, and any travel to a test site. So you traditionally over that 3-year period, you're going to spend $1,000 to $2,000 out of pocket most.
So, and I think that's the central theme to any registered apprenticeship program is, I think for a lot of young people, they're looking at, okay, where do I go after high school? How do I find that post-secondary option that's available to me, that's right for me? Because education is always going to be key anywhere you go. And what the benefit with a registered apprenticeship program, you can see with these two registered apprenticeship programs, is a very minimal cost to that apprentice, to that student. You're not going to take on a lot of burdensome debt, and you're really going to set your career in motion. Anything else you would like to add, Christy?
I think we covered a great amount of information today. And again, I do think an apprenticeship program is the best way to train a skilled workforce for both parties, not only the employer who has available employees ready to work and they can grow those people in the way that makes the most sense for them and their organization. But we've got young folks who are eager to work and eager to learn, and they can make a really good living with very little debt at the end. So it's just, I think we need to have more apprenticeship programs out there for more trades and more skilled workforce, and I'm a huge supporter of it.
Excellent. And then maybe just the last two final points, and I'll go to John, and then I'll come back to you, Christy, or maybe even Stephen too. But what is one misconception that people do get wrong about a registered apprenticeship program, or what do they need to know the most about it? And we'll go with you, John.
Yeah, I think the big misconception with the apprentice program is because you didn't go to school, you're not going to have responsibility, or you're not going to, you got to do all the grunt or the gopher work. And I'll just reiterate what we talked about earlier in the program here, and that's, you bring a great work ethic, you bring an ability to learn and a drive, your level of knowledge grows, your level of responsibility grows, and I think that's, you can make an impact from day one as an apprentice. It's not something where you have to wait around. It's day one, you're making an impact on a business, you're making an impact on your local community, and you provided services that your local community needs. And I think that's a big thing you can take home with on day one. So.
Excellent. How about Christy, and then we'll finish up with Stephen. One misconception that you would like to let everybody know.
Well, I just want to build on what John said, because I do believe he's spot on there. An apprenticeship program, you have to be a very engaging person. You have to have a lot of integrity and responsibility, and you're going to make an impact. Agree, on day one. You're going to be contributing to your community and to society. You are learning and growing through the whole entire program. No one's going to hold you back. And you got so much to accomplish and to share in that community. You're going to come out with a certificate. So I don't want anyone to think that, oh, I don't have a degree. I would challenge anyone who would argue that. You're getting a certificate from the Department of Labor in a skilled trade that is just as good as any degree out there. And so much, so achievable. You just have to put hard work behind it.
Excellent. And Stephen, how about for you?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions, what John and Christy said as well, is, society, it's kind of, in society, it's looked down upon if you don't go to a 4-year college or you don't get some type of 4-year degree. And the way that I see it personally is that, yes, I went to 1 year of school and then I started my apprenticeship, but I see my apprenticeship as a 4-year degree. And on top of that 4-year degree is I'm getting paid. I'm not paying them. And I'm learning and I'm working every day and I'm not sitting in a classroom. And I think it's awesome, the fact that you get paid while you're going to school. It's an awesome thing, and I would highly recommend apprenticeships.
Excellent. Well, then we'll go into this, and here I posted your guys' contact information, Christy and John, for anybody that is watching or eventually will watch if they want to get further information about your guys' apprenticeship programs or more knowledge about it. With that, Amanda, did we have any questions?
We do have several questions. So
Okay.
we'll ask this one first, just since it was mentioned. Can we talk a little bit about how apprentices earn a paycheck while they're working? Do they earn like a percentage of what a journeyman does? Maybe each of you, Christy and John, can explain the compensation kind of structure to your respective apprenticeship programs.
Yeah, that's a great question. So earlier we had mentioned specifically for line workers and meter technicians, we have a step, and I do believe this is true with John as well. So you will start out your apprenticeship at a percentage of journeyman wages. And with each step, which ours is every 6 months, as long as you're accomplishing what you should be during those 6-month period, you get an increase increment up until you journey out at that 9th step when you've completed your 8,000 hours of on-the-job learning and your coursework. So excellent question. Yeah, it starts out as a percentage of the journeyman wages and will increase until the completion.
Wonderful. John, anything to add on that?
Yeah, and I would say ours is maybe just slightly different. But with like everything we've talked about today, some parallels. For us, you're starting out of the gates with an hourly wage, and you're eligible for all of the benefit programs that everyone else is eligible here. And our wage advancement again is based on your level of responsibility that you take home with you every day, and your responsibility that you bring with you back to work in the morning. And that's how we gauge that. So we're probably not as well defined as what Christy's working with there, but we do have 6 and 12-month evaluation periods, and we look at that.
Wonderful. So the next question is more about a student-specific skills, but would a student with, or I suppose anybody with 2 years of auto mechanics, say maybe in high school, they tinker on their own, or maybe they, went to school for auto mechanics, would they be a good candidate for your apprenticeship programs?
This is John. I guess I can start with that. In our case, it would be an excellent it would be an excellent candidate from a skill set and from a tinkering standpoint. One of the things that we found very successful, not only in our apprentice programs, but any interview process, any vetting process, is we do require a certain number of hours of job shadowing before any employment, before any apprenticeship program begins. And it's just an easy way for the apprentice candidate to try the job out before they really commit to the program. And so that can range from, we've had 4-hour job shadows, and we've had folks come in and job shadow for a week just to kind of see if it's something they want to commit to and sink their teeth into. So that would be a great fit for what we're doing here for sure.
I would concur with that. I think anybody that is mechanically inclined and interested in, construction, whether it'd lead to constructions of substation. It may lead to maintenance and repairing of overhead power lines. But if you're mechanically inclined and you like to use your hands, you like to use your tools, you like to be outside in North Dakota in, great rural areas, I think that is definitely a good fit.
I think it's amazing how transferable those skills are across from whether it's power supply or aircraft maintenance. There's a lot of transferable skills in there, so especially at an early stage of the career. So.
Yeah, and that job shadowing especially, I mean, it's so important for high school students in particular, no matter what industry or, vocation they're going into, to see if they actually, I always equate it to nurses. Do you like blood and guts, or at least do you not faint at the sight of blood and guts before you're too far in? So the next question is specifically about the apprenticeships in rural communities. So how are the apprenticeships set up for those in rural communities? Would they have to move to your location, or are there options in rural North Dakota? And I have a tag question on for the end of that one. But what options do students have in rural communities for your apprenticeship?
Well, I can start with that. Being, rural electric cooperatives, we have lots of opportunities. I think traditionally, a student who wants to stay in their hometown, if you will strive to be hired on at their local MDU, their local co-op, a contractor in the area. I think that is definitely something we see most common. I know some of our very rural areas, our co-ops and utilities there will recruit from family and friends. We have a history as line workers of having multiple generations in the same career path, and at times working in the same communities. So I think that's true, and that can happen. I know even Stephen can add to this today, but we do have opportunities where you may be traveling a little bit, and I might just turn that over and you can speak about Central Power.
Yeah, with Central Power, we're based out of Minot. A lot of the employees that work for Central Power, they do live in Minot. But with that, we have some that live we have some that live in Bismarck, some that live in the real rural parts of North Dakota. And for Central Power, we do a lot of traveling. We work a Monday to Thursday schedule, and we show up to work at 7 on Monday. We load our stuff up for what we'll need for the week, and we'll go to, like, last 6 weeks we've been down in Bismarck. I've spent time in Jamestown, Devil's Lake. It just kind of, we have power lines all over the state. So it's not very specific for where you live. For us, with transmission, it's more of where exactly you want to live. And you will have to do some travel, and that just comes with the transmission side of things. And personally, I really do enjoy traveling, getting to see all of North Dakota. And I think it's awesome in that aspect. And then along with that, with the rural electric cooperatives, they have distribution, where that's more, it's all distribution power, which is, you know, the stuff that powers your house and gives your house electricity. And that's more of a 7 to 3:30 or 8-hour day, and you go home every night. So there's different sides of both things, where if you want to travel more, my line of work would probably be along those lines. But if you want to go home every night, there's opportunities for that as well.
Awesome. And how about John? Is it mostly located in Bismarck?
You know, for us, it's primarily located in Bismarck and Mandan. I will say though, you know, our industry has projected a shortage of about 200,000 aircraft maintenance technicians, you know, over the next 15 years. And so our effort is definitely an industry effort. And so if there's somebody on the call here or in a rural community that wants to get involved in aviation in a rural setting, I'll help open up the doors. I'll help introduce them to people. If Bismarck Mandan isn't for them, you know, it's an industry effort. I'll help find a match.
Wonderful. So this was my follow-up question, and it's probably more geared towards the rural electric cooperatives. Are there any incentives that you try to give to line workers or people in the industry to maybe encourage them to stay in those smaller communities versus, you know, wanting to come to the Bismarcks, the Minotts? Or is that historically not really as big of an issue as we think?
Incentives. None are really crossing my mind. Typically, what we see, the folks who enroll into the Bismarck, I'm going to say Bismarck State College program, they're really wanting to stay in North Dakota. You know, it's about a 90% enrollment of local North Dakota folks who go through that program. And our co-ops, presently today, we did a really rough, you know, survey not too long ago, but 98% of folks hired in our North Dakota co-ops are North Dakota natives. So usually that desire is already there, and we just try to provide that opportunity to hire great folks in really great places.
Wonderful. We don't have any other questions, so last call for questions, everyone. All right, well, while we are waiting for those last call for questions, just some reminders about some upcoming webinars for the week. Today's webinar was the second of 3 on apprenticeships. It is, of course, Apprenticeship Week. Our next webinar is this evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Cindy Sanford from the Bank of North Dakota will be presenting on life after high school. So that will kind of touch base on, you know, skills that students can work on and develop in high school. So that once they walk across that stage, no matter what they're hoping to do, college, career, military, or other, they are working on developing those skills in high school that are going to allow them to be successful after graduation. And then our final presentation of Career Discovery and Apprenticeship Week will be this Thursday, so 2 days from now at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, so right there at noon, and we will be exploring apprenticeship programs again with opportunities in aggregate service tech and electrical construction. So we did have a couple more questions come in. Do you have anyone that needs help with housing if they, for example, need to move to get started in their apprenticeship program? What do you do to help students with housing or apprentices with housing?
This is John. I guess I can go, as far as for housing, certainly we do provide some relocation assistance and just try to tailor to what the student needs are. So if it's helping them find housing, if it's helping them pay for the first month of housing, we've done all sorts of things. Or if it's just help finding them, loaning them some equipment so they can get their personal belongings moved here, and we meet them at their apartment and help them get unloaded. We do all kinds of things, more of that personal, family oriented type connection there in a small business here.
What have I seen with our electric co-ops? Now, it's a lot of that's going to depend on the individual cooperative, but we do see some assistance in that manner. When you get towards the western portion of the state, some of the cost of living is significantly different out there, and they've had some stipends to help offset your cost of living on that those areas. You get to a really rural community, and there might not be a ton of housing opportunities. So they just take the good old fashioned family values and word of mouth, let's find some place for this young person to live, or let's find some way to, where are we going to bring this new family to our community? So the extremes of supplementing your income for your housing to the family values of let's getting you settled, whatever it might take, like John says, getting them moved in, leasing out a home to them. I've seen that happen across the state, and I think that's just your traditional North Dakota nice too.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the final two questions are actually very, very similar. What should a student or someone do if they are interested in the apprenticeship program? Specifically, what should a high school student do if they're interested in these specific apprenticeship programs? Is there a good time of year to reach out to you on these, or what is maybe the process for, say, a high school senior?
I might look to Stephen, being someone who's recently enrolled into apprenticeship program. What advice
Yeah.
do you have?
If you're interested in working or looking into line work, I would say, from my experience, to go on a Bismarck State College's website and click on courses of study or something along those lines, and you can search for line work program, and that'll bring you to the application page. And it's real simple. You just fill out your information, and for when you want to start your course. I would say right now would be the perfect time to do it. I know they do fill up fairly fast, so I would say the sooner the better.
Would you advise them to get on the waiting list if that were to happen?
Absolutely. I know a lot of the cooperatives, they like to see an associate's degree. I personally, I do have an associate's degree, but if you are put on the waiting list, you can still enroll in a Bismarck College, knock out your basic courses, and by the time that your course will open up, you'll have a year of college under your belt. And by the time you graduate line school, you'll have that associate's degree.
The other benefit of that waiting list is, if you recall earlier, I had mentioned typically there's a climbing school in the summer just to get used to the field, to get used to the idea. And not everyone is cut out for that. So while the college may enroll 60 students, before school starts, 55 of them may move on. So if you're on that waiting list, you just may get a call and get into the program that year instead of waiting for a year. So it's worth getting your name on there if you're really interested.
Wonderful. And I just wanted to put a plug out there. BSC actually recently put on their Facebook page that some of their more limited enrollment programs do have seats available right now, and typically they are limited enrollment. So those do typically fill up. So maybe students who are looking at some of those more limited enrollment programs, make sure that you get your applications in, and of course get on the wait list if those are full, just because everyone's plans do change. So, and John, anything on that topic?
Yeah, I'll just say, give me a call. We'll figure it out.
Perfect. And that was our last question. So yeah, just give these guys a call. They're information is right here on the screen. And of course, worst comes to worst, you know where to reach. All of your favorite people at the Bank of North Dakota will know where to get you on too. So anything else?
Well, thank you, John and Christy and Stephen, for being a part of this here today. This is actually the first one, and I hope we continue to keep having these forums with the Bank of North Dakota to continue promoting registered apprenticeship programs across the state of North Dakota. These are programs right here in the state of North Dakota. And coming from the building trades, you know, that's usually the typical association with the build or an apprenticeship program. But hopefully today we got some good information about 2 specific apprenticeship programs that are probably outside the realm of that construction trade. So I want to thank you guys for being a part of this here today. Thank you for the information that you guys gave. And yes, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to each one of them.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you to all of you as well. Thanks to our attendees. And don't forget, Thursday at noon, we will explore apprenticeships in aggregate service tech and electrical construction. This webinar and all of our career discovery webinars are recorded and put on the career discovery portion of the Career Compass website. So you can see this and any previous and future webinars there. All right. Thanks, everyone. And we will see you next time.